Hello, everyone. Today we're going to learn another 10 common idioms, phrases, and sentences that native English speakers use every single day. These expressions are super useful, and I promise by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what these expressions mean and how to use them naturally in your own conversations. Here's how you can get the most out of this video. First, listen while reading the subtitles. This will help you catch every word and follow along more easily. Then, play the video again and try to repeat the sentences out loud, but this time without reading the subtitles. This will really help you improve your pronunciation, listening, and speaking skills. Don't forget to pause and write down any new idioms or phrases you like. That way, you can remember and review them later. This is a great way to boost your listening, reading, and speaking, all at the same time. This lesson is a fun and simple way to improve your English step by step. Before we dive in, if you're finding this helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe. It helps a ton, and I really appreciate your support. All right, let's get started with our first expression. Number 1, I'll think about it. This expression is something you'll hear almost every day in English conversations. When someone says, I'll think about it, it means they need time to consider something before making a decision. It's a polite way to say you're not ready to give an answer right now. This expression is so common because it's a gentle way to avoid saying yes or no immediately. Native speakers use it when they want to be careful about their decisions, or sometimes when they're not really interested but don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Let me tell you about my friend Sarah. Last week, her coworker asked if she wanted to join a weekend hiking trip. Sarah wasn't sure if she wanted to spend her Saturday climbing mountains, so she said, "That sounds interesting, but I'll think about it." She wanted to check her schedule and see how she felt about it later. For example, if your friend invites you to a party and you're not sure if you can go, you might say, "Thanks for inviting me. I'll think about it and let you know tomorrow." Here's another one. Imagine your boss offers you extra work for more money. You could respond, "That's a great opportunity. I'll think about it over the weekend." You might hear something like this at a store when a salesperson is trying to sell you something expensive. "This laptop looks good, but I'll think about it before I buy anything." Have you ever been in a situation where you needed more time to decide something? This phrase is perfect for those moments. Let me know in the comments if you've used this phrase before. Number 2, I'll think it over. Now this phrase is very similar to I'll think about it, but there's a small difference. When you say, "I'll think it over," it usually means you're considering something more seriously or more carefully. The word over suggests you're going to examine all the details and really consider every part of the decision. This expression comes from the idea of thinking over something, like looking at it from all sides. Native speakers often use this when they're facing important decisions, like changing jobs, moving to a new city, or making big purchases. I remember when my cousin was offered a job in another state. It was a good job with better pay, but it meant leaving her family and friends behind. When her future boss called to ask for her answer, she said, "This is a big decision for me. Can I have a few days to think it over?" She spent the next week talking to her family, making lists of pros and cons, and really considering every aspect of the move. For example, if someone asks you to be their business partner, you might say, "Wow, that's a big opportunity. I need some time to think it over." Let's take this one. Imagine you're looking at apartments and the landlord wants an answer today. You could say, "I really like this place, but I need to think it over with my family first." People often say something like, "The contract looks good, but my lawyer wants me to think it over before I sign anything." Do you think you could use this phrase when making important decisions? Which sounds more serious to you? "I'll think about it" or "I'll think it over"? Number 3, we need to hurry. This sentence is something you'll hear all the time, especially in busy situations. When someone says, "We need to hurry," it means time is running out and you have to move faster or do something more quickly. It's a way to tell people that there's some kind of time pressure. Native speakers use this expression when they're running late, when something important is about to start, or when there's a deadline approaching. It's more urgent than just saying, "Let's go" or "Come on." Just yesterday, I was getting ready to meet my friends at the movies. I was taking my time choosing what to wear when my roommate knocked on my door and said, "Hey, we need to hurry. The movie starts in 20 minutes and there's going to be traffic." I quickly grabbed my jacket and we rushed out the door. We made it just in time for the previews. For example, if you're at the airport and your flight is boarding soon, you might tell your travel companion, "We need to hurry or we'll miss our plane." Here's another one. Imagine you're cooking dinner for guests who are arriving soon and you realize you're behind schedule. You might call out to your family, "We need to hurry and finish cooking. They'll be here in 30 minutes." You might hear something like this from a teacher, "We need to hurry and finish this lesson before the bell rings." Have you ever been in a situation where time was running out? This sentence is perfect for those stressful moments when every minute counts. Number 4, I don't get it. This phrase is incredibly common in everyday English, and it simply means "I don't understand." When someone says, "I don't get it," they're confused about something and need more explanation. It's a very casual and natural way to express confusion. The word "get" here doesn't mean receive or obtain. Instead, it means understand or comprehend. This is a perfect example of how English can be tricky because the same word can have different meanings in different situations. Native speakers use this phrase constantly because it sounds more natural and conversational than saying, "I don't understand." I'll never forget when I was trying to help my little brother with his math homework last month. He was working on algebra, and after I explained the same problem 3 different ways, he looked at me with a frustrated expression and said, "I'm sorry, but I still don't get it. Can you show me one more time?" His honesty made it easier for me to find a different way to explain the concept, and eventually it clicked for him. For example, if someone is explaining a complicated movie plot to you, you might say, "Wait, slow down. I don't get it. Who is the main character again?" You might hear something like this in a work meeting. "Sorry to interrupt, but I don't get it. How does this new system work exactly?" Let's take this one. Imagine your friend is telling you about a confusing situation with their neighbors. You could respond, "I don't get it. Why are they angry about your parking?" Don't you think it's better to ask for clarification when you're confused rather than pretending to understand? Have you ever used this phrase when learning English? Number 5, I don't know what to say. This sentence expresses a feeling we all have sometimes. When someone says, "I don't know what to say," it usually means they're surprised, shocked, touched, or overwhelmed by something, and they can't find the right words to respond. It's not that they literally have no words. It's that they're having such strong emotions that they need a moment to process. Native speakers use this expression in many different situations. Sometimes it's when they receive wonderful news, sometimes when they hear something sad or shocking, and sometimes when someone does something very kind for them. It shows that whatever happened has affected them deeply. My best friend Emma used this expression just last week in the sweetest way. She had been feeling really stressed about her new job, and I could see she was struggling. So I decided to surprise her with her favorite homemade cookies and an encouraging note. When I showed up at her door with the care package, her eyes filled up with tears, and she said, "Oh my goodness, you're so thoughtful. I don't know what to say. This means so much to me right now." It was such a genuine reaction that made my day too. For example, if someone gives you an unexpected compliment about your English speaking skills, you might respond, "Wow, thank you so much. I don't know what to say. That really encourages me." Here's another one. Imagine you find out that your coworkers organized a surprise birthday party for you. You could say, "You guys are amazing. I don't know what to say. I'm so surprised and happy." You might hear something like this when someone receives bad news. "I just heard about your grandmother. I don't know what to say, but I'm here for you." Have you ever felt so surprised or touched that you couldn't find the right words? This sentence perfectly captures that feeling. Number 6, suit yourself. This phrase might sound a little confusing at first, but it's actually quite simple. When someone says suit yourself, they mean do whatever you want or make your own choice. However, there's often a slight tone of annoyance or indifference behind it. It's like saying, "Fine, I don't care what you decide." The phrase comes from the idea that you should do what suits you best, meaning what fits your preferences or desires. Native speakers often use this when they've tried to suggest something or convince someone, but the other person doesn't want to listen. It's a way of stepping back and letting the person make their own decision, even if you don't agree with it. I witnessed this exact situation at a coffee shop last weekend. A woman was trying to convince her friend to try a new drink instead of his usual black coffee. She kept saying things like, "Come on, try the caramel macchiato. It's so good," but he kept refusing. Finally, she shrugged her shoulders and said, "Suit yourself, but you're missing out on something delicious." He ended up sticking with his black coffee, and she ordered her fancy drink. Both were happy with their choices in the end. For example, if you suggest to your roommate that you should clean the apartment together, but they say they'd rather do it later, you might respond, "Suit yourself, but I'm cleaning my part now." You might hear something like this between siblings. "You should wear a jacket, it's cold outside." "I'm not cold." "Suit yourself, but don't complain to me later if you're freezing." Let's take this one. Imagine you're trying to convince a friend to come to a party with you, but they prefer to stay home and watch movies. You could say, "Suit yourself, but it's going to be a really fun party." Do you think this phrase sounds a little bit sassy? Have you ever been in a situation where someone wouldn't listen to your advice? Number 7. Can you give me a hand? This phrase is one of the most useful expressions you can learn because you'll need to ask for help all the time in daily life. When someone says, "Can you give me a hand?" they're asking for help or assistance with something. It doesn't literally mean they want your actual hand. It's just a friendly, casual way to ask someone to help you. This expression is much more natural and conversational than saying, "Can you help me?" Native speakers love using this phrase because it sounds friendly and not too formal. You can use it for small favors or bigger tasks, and people usually respond positively when you ask this way. Just this morning, I was trying to move my heavy bookshelf to a different corner of my room. I struggled with it for about 10 minutes, trying to push and pull it by myself, but it was just too heavy and awkward. Finally, I gave up and called my neighbor Tom. When he answered the door, I said, "Hey Tom, I'm so sorry to bother you, but can you give me a hand with moving this bookshelf? It's way heavier than I thought." He was happy to help, and together we moved it in just 2 minutes. For example, if you're carrying groceries and struggling with heavy bags, you might ask your friend, "Can you give me a hand with these bags?" Here's another one. Imagine you're trying to set up a new computer and you're having trouble with all the cables. You could ask someone, "Can you give me a hand? I can't figure out where all these wires go." You might hear something like this at work. "I'm trying to finish this report before the deadline. Can you give me a hand with the research part?" Have you ever needed help with something but felt shy about asking? This phrase makes asking for help feel much more natural and friendly. Number 8, I feel the same way. This expression is perfect for showing agreement and connection with someone else's feelings or opinions. When you say, "I feel the same way," you're telling the other person that you share their emotions, thoughts, or perspective about something. It's a wonderful way to build relationships and show empathy. Native speakers use this expression to create bonds with others and to show that they understand and relate to what someone else is experiencing. It's more personal and emotional than just saying, "I agree," because it acknowledges feelings, not just thoughts or opinions. Last week, my coworker Maria was talking about how nervous she felt about giving a presentation to our boss. She was pacing around the office, saying things like, "I hate public speaking. My hands get sweaty and my voice shakes. I just wish I could be more confident." I completely understood her feelings because I get nervous about presentations too, so I told her, "Maria, I feel the same way. Every time I have to speak in front of people, I get butterflies in my stomach. But you know what? We always do better than we think we will." Sharing that feeling made her feel less alone and more confident. For example, if your friend says they love rainy days because they feel cozy and peaceful, you might respond, "I feel the same way. There's something so relaxing about listening to rain." You might hear something like this in a conversation about movies. "I think that movie was really boring and too long." "I feel the same way. I almost fell asleep in the theater." Let's take this one. Imagine someone is talking about how much they miss their hometown. You could say, "I feel the same way about my hometown. There's nothing quite like the place where you grew up." Do you think expressing shared feelings helps you connect better with other people? Which situations make you feel the need to say this? Number 9, don't mention it. This phrase is a polite and friendly response when someone thanks you for something. When you say, "Don't mention it," you mean, "You don't need to thank me," or "It was no problem at all." It's a humble way to accept gratitude while showing that you were happy to help and didn't consider it a big deal. Native speakers use this expression to be modest about their good deeds. It's more casual than saying, "You're welcome," and it suggests that helping was natural and easy for you. Some people also say variations like "don't mention it" to show they would do the same favor again without thinking twice about it. This happened to me just a few days ago at the grocery store. I was walking to my car when I noticed an elderly man struggling to load heavy water bottles into his trunk. Without thinking, I walked over and asked if he needed help. Together, we loaded all his groceries quickly and easily. He was so grateful and kept saying, "Thank you so much, young lady. You're so kind. I really appreciate this." I smiled and replied, "Don't mention it. I was happy to help. Have a great day." He seemed surprised by how natural and easy I made it seem, which made both of us feel good. For example, if you help a friend move their furniture and they thank you repeatedly, you might say, "Don't mention it." That's what friends are for. Here's another one. Imagine you lend your notes to a classmate who missed an important lecture and they express lots of gratitude. You could respond, Don't mention it. I know you do the same for me. You might hear something like this at work. Thank you so much for staying late to help me finish this project. Don't mention it. We're a team. Have you ever helped someone and felt like their thanks were more than necessary? This phrase helps you accept gratitude gracefully while staying humble. Number 10. What brings you here? This question is a friendly and natural way to ask someone why they came to a particular place or what their purpose is for being somewhere. When someone asks, "What brings you here?" they're curious about your reason for visiting or appearing in that location. It's more interesting and conversational than just asking, "Why are you here?" Native speakers love this expression because it sounds warm and genuinely interested rather than nosy or suspicious. You'll hear it in many different situations, from casual encounters to more formal meetings. It's a great conversation starter that invites people to share their story. I experienced this just last weekend when I ran into my old high school teacher at a bookstore downtown. I was browsing through the language learning section when I heard someone say my name. I turned around, and there was Mrs. Johnson, my former English teacher. She seemed just as surprised to see me as I was to see her. After we hugged and exchanged greetings, she asked with a big smile, "What brings you here today?" I explained that I was looking for books to help me learn Spanish for an upcoming trip. We ended up having a wonderful 15-minute conversation about language learning and travel. For example, if you unexpectedly see a coworker at a restaurant on the weekend, you might ask, "Hey, what brings you here? Do you live in this neighborhood?" You might hear something like this at a doctor's office when the receptionist greets you, "Good morning, what brings you here today?" Let's take this one. Imagine you're at a coffee shop and you see your neighbor there. You could ask, "Hi there, what brings you here? I usually see you at the place down the street." Don't you think this question sounds much friendlier than just asking, "Why are you here?" Have you ever used a similar question to start a conversation with someone? Let's recap what we learned today. We covered so many useful expressions today. Let me quickly go through all 10 expressions we learned, and I want you to think about which ones you're most excited to try in your own conversations. We started with "I'll think about it" and "I'll think it over," two phrases that help you buy time when making decisions. Then we learned we need to hurry for those moments when time is running out. We explored "I don't get it" as a natural way to say you don't understand something, and "I don't know what to say" for when you're overwhelmed with emotion. We also covered "suit yourself," which lets people make their own choices, and "can you give me a hand?" for asking for help in a friendly way. We learned about "I feel the same way" to show you share someone's feelings. Don't mention it as a humble response to thanks. And finally, "What brings you here?" as a warm way to ask about someone's purpose for being somewhere. Each of these expressions will make your English sound more natural and help you connect better with native speakers. The key is to practice using them in real situations, so don't be afraid to try them out. Which of these 10 expressions was your favorite today? Let me know in the comments which one you think you'll use first, or tell me about a time when you could have used one of these phrases. I love reading your comments and hearing about your English learning journey. If this video helped you understand these common expressions better, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Tomorrow, I'll be back with 10 more idioms, phrases, and sentences that will make your English even more natural and confident. Keep practicing, keep learning, and remember that every small step makes you better at English. Take care and keep practicing your English. I'll see you tomorrow.